Okay, we're recording. I call to order this online only meeting of the Soldiers Memorial Commission for the City of St. Louis. Today is Thursday, May 20th, 2021, and it's 3:02 p.m. My name is Linnea Magnuson, and I chair the commission. We proceed according to the agenda, and first on the agenda is the roll call of Soldiers Memorial Commissioners in alphabetical order. So Corinne Barget. Here, yep. Jeffrey Boyd, not here. Freddie Dunlap, not here. Maurice Falls, no. Jason Fletcher, he's usually here, but he's not here. Okay. No. Tom Gilmore, no. Judith Hansis is here.
Of course, I'm here.
Yep. Bruce Yampolsky.
I am too, yeah.
And then myself, Linnea Magnuson. And let me put up the agenda here. Okay, next on the agenda, according to the agenda, is the Pledge of Allegiance. Bruce, will you lead us in the pledge?
I'd be glad to. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the
of the
United States of America and to the republic
for which it
for which
stands,
stands
One
one
nation,
nation, under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
with liberty
and
and
justice.
justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you, Bruce. And by the way, that is the flag in front of 1520 Market, if you're wondering
Very good.
about that. Yeah. So the next thing I've got on the agenda is the approval of the January 21st and the March 18th, 2021 Soldiers Memorial Commission meeting minutes. So I'll put up the January 21st one here, and anyone can take a look at it if you need to again. And then we can call for a vote.
I move we approve the minutes as published.
Okay.
I second it.
I second it. Now let me think, do we have a quorum with, see if we've got Freddie approving 1, 2, 3. Do we have a quorum with Freddie? I think we do. Let me see, Corinne, Judith, Bruce, 4, 5. I think we have a quorum with Freddie, so we're good. Okay.
Great.
So the motion and the second, the vote to approve, is there, excuse me, are there anybody opposed to approving the minutes as printed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes to approve the January 21st, 2021 meeting minutes as posted. Let me go to the second one here. And these are the meeting minutes from March 18th, 2021. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a
I
second?
call it
Okay. Any of, all those in favor of approving the March 18th, 2021 meeting minutes as posted?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Any abstentions? No. Okay, the meeting minutes of March 18th, 2021, approval of meeting minutes from March 18th, 2021 passes. Okay, that's good. And now we'll go back to, let's go back to this one again. All right, so the next thing on the agenda is we have Harry Rich here, our Board of Trustees from the Missouri Historical Society, to introduce the new Missouri Historical Society's newly established Soldiers Memorial Subcommittee. Harry, would you like to tell us about that? Let's see. You might be muted. See if we can,
You're muted, Harry.
Harry, you're muted.
yeah. Whoop. Let's see if we can get him to unmute there.
Got it. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Oh, sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
doing this from my iPad, and this is the first time I've used it. I couldn't find all the buttons.
Oh, I understand.
So, okay, again, pleasure to be here. Appreciate being included. The Historical Society, as a part of its governance, has a number of committees. I think there are 7 in all, and we've made the decision to add one more committee that is specifically for the Soldiers Memorial. It's similar in structure to the other committees that we have, with one exception, in that we have more what we refer to as at-large members from the community that are not on the board of the society. And the reason for including a larger number of at-large members is, I think it helps us with community outreach. They can help us be ambassadors to the community about the memorial, and they can also help us with fundraising. And so that the committee was established with our first meeting on March 31st. For the initial meeting, we had 100% attendance, which I thought was a great start. And we used that meeting to kind of introduce the memorial to those who are not familiar with it. Mark did a really good job of providing a history of the memorial. We reviewed the 2 agreements that the society has with the city. The one that the initial agreement, which was the agreement covering the collections, and then the larger agreement that covered the rehab of the memorial and the operating agreement. This is one of the reasons for setting up a committee for the memorial. Is this is really a unique and interesting combined public-private agreement and undertaking, sort of a 3-way agreement between the society, the city, and the very generous donors who made all of this possible. And we thought it was important enough to establish a committee to have a little better communications directly to our board about the memorial, about the programs, and just general information. So that's the reason, that's the committee. Our next meeting will be in June 24th. We'll have either 3 or 4 meetings a year of the committee, unless there are reasons to add to that. So let me stop there and be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. So the next meeting is June 24th, okay?
Yes.
And is it a meeting where you would invite guests, or is it a closed meeting?
Well, I think no, I don't think our meetings are not closed, and actually would be glad to have members from the commission attend. I would hope that by June, maybe we won't be Zooming. And
That'd be great.
I would make sure that we had that meeting at the memorial. But no, we would welcome you. We'd be happy to have you sit in.
Sure, would love to sometime. Now, do I understand that the purpose of this is a better communication with the memorial and with the commission charged by the city? And for fundraising, were those 2 things I heard were main purposes?
Yeah, and also provide, I think, a little stronger communications back up to our board with respect to the activities of the memorial. It clearly is an important part, and our sense was it just makes sense to cover it with a committee and strengthen that.
How many people are on the committee?
There are 9 members who are members of the board of the society, and 4 at-large
Okay.
members.
I apologize if you said that and I missed it.
No, I did not. That's a good question. It's a large committee, as I say, but a much larger contingent of at-large and community members than we would normally have.
Okay.
But given the sort of the unique nature of the memorial, we thought it was important to do that.
And again, the purpose mainly is to convey, be a liaison between the board in general and what's going on at Soldiers Memorial specifically. And do you advise then, or advisory capacity to the board, or just
Well,
information?
Linnea, the way,
I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. Not just this committee, but other committees is where the work gets done.
I see.
Where if there are issues, that's where they get raised and discussed and then ultimately brought to the board,
I
for final discussion, and if approval is required, done at that point. So it provides a little bit more staff work with respect to the memorial. And as I say, is the same thing we do with our other committees.
got it. Thank you.
So does Mark sit on the board on that committee?
Mark attends the meetings. I don't think Mark is a member per se, but is clearly, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Mark does the work of the committee in terms of preparation and agenda and making sure that we're doing things in the proper way. So a very active member, even if not a member per se.
Okay. Well, I'd be happy to include you on all our emails if that would be helpful. So you can keep up to speed with what's going on here at the commission. And you're welcome, of course, to attend any of our meetings as well.
No, I would like to be on your email list,
Sure,
and
Yeah.
quite honestly, I'll make the meetings when I can.
yeah. That'd be great. Yeah, so, yeah, we meet 6 times a year, so a little bit more, not very often, but yeah.
Well, the memorial is special to me. I had the privilege of being the chairman of the society board when we did all of the agreements that led to the rehab and to the final operation of it. I'm a veteran myself, and so this is an important thing for me.
I remember when this all started that you guys talked about having a subcommittee, so I'm really glad that you guys were able to do that, because something I'd kind of forgotten about, and now it's great. You guys have done that.
Linnea, good point. We probably should have done this earlier. I think we got a little bit sidetracked with the virus.
Oh,
Sort of
yeah,
put a halt in several things. So, but I'm glad we've got it set up. I look forward to it.
good. Yeah. Are there any more questions? No? Thank you so much for coming and sharing this with us. And again, if there's anything as a board we can do, or as a commission we can do, or individuals can come to your meetings and that would be, we'd be happy to participate too. Anything
Right.
we can do to help. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to the next thing on the agenda, which is Mark Sunlove reporting on upcoming events and past events to some extent at Soldiers Memorial, and the collection, exhibits, programs, and operations. What's going on at Soldiers?
All right. Well, thank you, Linnea. And as soon as you turn it over to me, I'm going to turn it over to Kate Scott and ask
Sure.
Kate to talk about some issues and some activities within the collections area of the operations here.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of 3 big things that have been happening. The Soldiers Memorial Acquisitions Committee met this past Monday, and we approved 2 new donations for the collection. One is a small embroidered remembrance postcard that was sent from France during World War I. And then the other is a copy of the book Liberty, Liberty's Victorious Conflict, which is a photographic history of the World War. And so we're hoping that this will be a nice kind of reference material going forward. Lots of wonderful photographs that could be utilized in exhibits and programs in the future. So we're excited about those 2 objects.
Yeah, the photo book was published in 1918, so it's a primary source that primary source document from the time. So yeah.
And then I will have an intern starting with me this Monday. Her name is Ruth Lee, and she will be with me for about 10 weeks. She is a graduate student in public history and historic preservation at Southeast Missouri State University. And she's going to be coming on board to help with the research of individuals whose artifacts are slated to be part of the Vietnam exhibit, but who we don't have a lot of background information on as of yet. So she's going to be doing some deep dive research into those folks for us, and hopefully producing some social media posts and maybe a blog post as a result of that research that then we will utilize either leading up to the run of Vietnam or throughout its opening. So excited to have her coming on board starting next week. And then I am also deep in the process of filling my collections assistant position. It's been vacant since last July after Shay departed and I was promoted. So excited to be filling that position. This week has been the second and final round of interviews. We had one on Tuesday, one yesterday, and we have the final one later this afternoon. So we have 3 really qualified candidates still in the running for that. And hopefully we will be making a decision very soon and have somebody else on board in the collections department so we can continue doing the work. So excited about that.
All right, thank you, Kate. I'll talk a little bit about exhibitions. Our next opening exhibition will open on Saturday, July 24th. The title of that is Righting a Wrong, Japanese Americans in World War II. And it shares a couple of stories. Most prominently, it shares the history of the incarceration of Japanese Americans, most of whom are US citizens during World War II. It also shares a little bit about the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, which was an all Japanese American unit during World War II, and actually one of the highest decorated units in the war. It's a traveling exhibit from the Smithsonian Institution, so it's national in scope. But we, through Mike Benso and an intern that we had this spring, Katie Shank, they did a lot of research and discovered 4 local stories that we're adding to the exhibition. One is Gio Obata, who was an architect and whose family was incarcerated during that time. And he ended up attending WashU, where he learned his architectural skills. Janice Kozumu, who it was also from California, born in California, ultimately was incarcerated in a couple of different locations, but ended up in Tule Lake with her husband, who was what they called a no-no. He both refused a loyalty pledge to the U.S. and also refused to serve in the U.S. military. Most of that was a result of what he saw was, was unjust treatment from the U.S. government, and he just wasn't ready to make those loyalty comments. They ended up, this is a really interesting twist in this history, is after their incarceration period, they actually moved back to Japan. He was from Hiroshima, and so they went back to that area. And when they got back there, they basically discovered that they felt like they were people without a country. They did not feel welcome in the US. And when they got back to Japan, the Japanese viewed them as Americans, and so were not very welcoming to them there either. So they eventually moved back to the United States and settled in St. Louis. So that's another story that we share in the exhibition. And then 3 brothers, Joseph Chester and Edward Tanaka. They were all St. Louisans, and they all served in the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. After the war, Chester wrote a book called Going for Broke, which was the regiment's kind of motto, and was basically the historian of that unit. So that story is included as well. And then Richard Henme, another famous architect who was drafted into the Army. And then eventually, after getting his architectural trade, he developed what many of us refer to as the Flying Saucer, a very famous St. Louis building. So we've done a good job, I think, of incorporating some of those local stories into this larger national narrative that's told within that exhibition. So we're excited to get that open and get that. And that, of course, is in that lower level temporary exhibition gallery. So kind of fulfilling that promise to keep that space vibrant and new with ever-changing exhibitions. The Vietnam exhibition development continues to progress. Mike is at a point where he submitted his final artifact list on Monday. There's still, I think he's got a little bit of room in there as far as loans and different things of that nature. but that's kind of firmed up. And then he's deep into content development at this point. So he's got his work cut out for him this summer as he continues to do a lot of writing and like I said, content development. Any questions on exhibitions before I move into talking about some programs? All righty, so our next program is Memorial Day, May 31st, which is coming up very quickly. At the time that we were doing this planning, as you all know, the life under COVID seems to change on a daily basis. So we were making these plans back in February, so it's hard to know exactly what the end of May was going to look like. So we went with a program that is avoided any single large congregation of people at a single time. So we'll be placing, in conjunction with American Legion District 11 and 12 and Post 422, we're going to place 5 wreaths at each of the memorials here at Soldiers Memorial, and then a 6th wreath on the American Legion Monument over in the American Legion Park. So that'll happen that morning. And then we are providing gold carnations or yellow carnations to any and all guests who wish to come and place a flower or two at a memorial or memorials of their choosing throughout the day. Then our volunteer docents that day will also be providing 4 outdoor tours throughout the length of the day of the both the memorial and the architectural spaces. And this is a tour that they've been giving. I think we started them in October. We just recently shifted them from Wednesday to Saturday, and they're proving to be fairly popular. We get a fair number of people that register for those, and it's really kind of a deep dive look at not only Soldiers Memorial and its architectural features and the memorial aspects of the space here, but also some of the architecture and some of the prominent buildings that can be seen from Soldiers Memorial, as well as kind of a deeper understanding of Memorial Plaza and that history. So, and then I guess most basically is we're going to be open on Monday, May 31st. And Monday we're typically closed, so we're opening the doors on Monday. And so hopefully we'll get a nice event. Certainly share this with friends and family and anybody who might be interested. We're also working with Christopher Schwartz of both AL District 11 and 12 and Post 422 to potentially do a reading of the names on one of the memorials. And we believe we're going to do World War I, but that's kind of a late developing aspect of this. We'll see where we get with that. And on Wednesday, June 9th, we continue our Chow and Chat or Lunch and Learn program. We're looking at a program called From Utah Beach to the Wedding Altar in honor of the anniversary of the Allied invasion of Normandy. One of our volunteers, Jack Kinsella, is going to share the story of his family's wartime experiences. They were directly involved with the invasion of Normandy there. And then on Sunday, June 13th is Flag Day -1, I guess. Post 422 will come and they're going to hold their meeting here on site. And then they are conducting the traditional flag disposal ceremony on the south side podium level to help folks properly dispose of flags. So I have a number of flags from Post 4 that Judith provided me with. So we'll get those into this ceremony. And then if you or you know others who have flags that they need to dispose of, please drop them off or let me know. I'd be happy to help with that.
What time does that start now, Mark?
We're starting that at 11 a.m. and it's a Sunday.
Got it.
Thank you. And then the next day on June 14th, which is Flag Day proper, this is another one of these programs that we planned back in the winter when we didn't know what we were going to be looking at the end of in the first half of June here. We're doing I'm going to provide an online presentation of flag etiquette as well as flag folding. So it won't be big extravaganza, but we are going to have that offered as well on the actual Flag Day. And then on Thursday, June 17th, the last program in June here, where we have this is at 6:30 p.m., part of our St. Louis History Live program. We're going to have a PTSD panel discussion with 3 professionals who have experience working with post-traumatic stress disorder, and we'll discuss its impact on military families and the members themselves.
Okay,
So kind of a full slate of programs here through the end of June.
yeah, sounds good.
Moving into operations, just a couple things to note. Of course, with the kind of dramatic announcement from the CDC and the city and county last week, we've changed policy a little bit. We now require, we have a sign that states that face masks are required of all unvaccinated visitors to Soldiers Memorial. We are not requiring proof of vaccination and relying on people's honesty and integrity to wear a mask if they are not vaccinated. However, staff continued to wear masks on site and still proceed through all of the COVID-19 safety measures that include temperature taking and answering a series of COVID-related questions from the security staff upon entering the building. We have a MHS COVID task force that meets regularly, and they met this week and identified a number of questions and concerns that are being addressed to the both at the leadership level at MHS, but then also addressed to the city health director, looking for some more clearer guidance and assistance in those decisions. And then our indoor, this is big news, our indoor gallery tours will resume on July 1st. So that's exciting. We can get groups back in, limited size, but we can still get them back into the exhibition galleries for on-site tours. And then, like I mentioned earlier, our outdoor tours have moved to Saturday, every Saturday at 1 p.m. and they're proving very successful. So I'm happy to field any questions. That's most of my formal remarks.
Any questions from anybody?
And all of that stuff, all of those events and all that programming can be found at mohistory.org/events. Everything is nicely color coded. Anything you see on that calendar listing in gold or yellow is events that are associated with Soldiers Memorial.
Yeah,
And of course, there's other amazing programming that's happening at MHM and the Library and Research Center. So check that out too. I know you all enjoy history in many different ways, not just military history.
sounds good. Any questions for Mark?
No?
No. Okay, I think I took a bunch of notes myself, so. Okay, anything else, Mark, that you'd like to tell us about, or you told us about a lot, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Anything?
I hope that's not too much. I try to give you
Yeah.
stuff that's pertinent and
I was writing
relevant
through.
to now. But
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, I think everybody's just the combination of springtime and some the more widespread distribution of the vaccine, and
Yeah,
everybody's getting pretty excited and antsy to get some to see each other in real person, I think, and take a little break from the Zoom, but we'll get there eventually.
yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I know it's been I live over by the zoo, and it's been so crowded at the zoo just every day of the week, at any time of the day. There's so many people over there, and it's really great to see all these families and these little kids and that back at the zoo.
Yeah.
It's been a really quiet year, so it'll be great to have people out and about again.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have anything else? Is there any questions, new business, or announcements?
Yes, I have a question. Where are we on the status of the Veterans Day ceremony and parade?
Good idea.
That's a great question.
Yeah. We actually talked about that earlier this week, so yes, go ahead, Mark.
I think I've talked to Lene about this, and we talked a little bit about this last year. I would love to see a committee be brought together to kind of rethink that day in all of its aspects, and to see. I think for me, what's been missing from that day is the opportunity for veterans and others to kind of congregate and enjoy each other's company and spend some time together. There is the formal ceremony, I guess, and the parade, but to me, it's lacking that kind of that community feeling that we might be able to get if we looked at it in a different perspective and maybe a different format as far as activities and how we can create those opportunities. I have a lot of my own ideas, but I think this would be most effectively done with a small committee, maybe to start with. But
And
I don't
Mark,
know. Go ahead, Judith.
I'm just going to ask for clarification. Are you thinking of this instead of the ceremony and parade or in addition to?
Well, I think for me, I think the parade needs to change. And I think so for me, I'll just speak honestly, the most disappointing aspect of the parade is kind of twofold. One is we have a lot of people who I think would rather be, or not rather, but would like to be at the ceremony, who are in the process of lining up for the parade while the ceremony is progressing, which to me, I think is a little problematic. And then the other aspect is that the way that when we walked in it in 2018, and that was my only time, the way that it kind of ends down at Union Station and people disperse or go back to their vehicles, and it's kind of I guess an end to the day, so to speak, I think is somewhat unfortunate as well. And I think if there's a way we could either change timing around or maybe have the parade end close to soldiers, either, in one of the adjacent parks or whatnot, where then we could have some sort of community gathering. And I know November 3rd or November 11th can be an iffy time of the year as far as weather, but even potentially use the indoor spaces at Soldiers if need be to have, food and, some community gathering and just that kind of opportunity to be together. And I think maybe this year, if all continues to proceed well, it could be more meaningful than ever to have that opportunity to be with one another again. But I think, the parade is great, and I don't want to say that it's not. But we definitely have experienced diminished participation, especially from the spectators' viewpoint. The number of people who come to watch that. And as I was doing a presentation on Veterans Day this last fall, in lieu of the parade, and you read these accounts in the Post-Dispatch of people 5 deep on the sidewalks, and I don't know I don't know where the era of parades is, and if there's another way to celebrate, recognize, and appreciate our veterans outside of a parade format. And we don't need to. I'm not saying throw out the whole parade or anything like that. We might find a way to continue that, but maybe it looks a little bit different in how and when it operates during the daytime. But again, a lot of just my own ideas, and definitely think that this is probably best done through a discussion in the committee. That being said, I think we should probably begin to move on this rather quickly, because it's only 6 months away now. So
Mark, if I might just make a comment to that, and Judith as well, is that in the past, the parade was organized by Ann Chance and Kathy Bess, and they spent tremendous amount of man hours and paperwork putting this together, for a parade that's very sparsely attended. Those 2 individuals have both retired. My special events group now is one young gentleman, Travis Hauser, does an outstanding job, but he manages all the events in St. Louis by himself. And so, with last year, COVID, with having an online type thing, with having a new administration around now, with having a lower attendance at the parade than what has historically been there, I would just kind of say hat in hand from my perspective. I completely agree with what you're saying. And if there would be a way that it could be the ceremony and some kind of a gathering that's much more meaningful, whether it be on the lawn or in the building, or if we had to close streets in the area, but to have a 3-hour-long parade and most people can't go to the ceremony and they end up, almost a mile away from Soldiers Memorial. It is somewhat disjointed and it's very man-hour intensive. So I'm 100% in agreement with what you're saying.
I think, Mark, we should talk tomorrow or early next week and try and get a committee together to just organize what's going to happen for the observance. And you and I have talked a lot, and Rich and I have talked too. And I've had some really difficulties with the parade for several years, and we've tried different things. And this might be a good time to talk about the parade at all, if there's a place for it in this event at the observance in November or not. And I'm glad that you brought this up, Judith, so we could talk about it here or introduce it anyway.
So maybe a festival of some
Yeah.
sort.
We could still call it an observance because it really is, but
Yeah.
we could do lots of things. I think we could, something like, we used to have things like static equipment displays and that sort of thing, which everyone loves that stuff. And this year, we haven't been able to do that for a while, but there's so many different aspects of it that we could tap into, I think, that might bring veterans and actually civilian or regular people, kids, adults together to meet each other and to talk, and maybe
Yeah.
informally in some ways.
And we need to start the work on it yesterday.
Yeah,
And I remember the last time Corinne was the
Okay.
chairman of the parade ceremony committee, she did a bunch of organizing of more festival-y kind of stuff,
yeah,
activities around the memorial to draw in people for the ceremony and parade in that area.
yeah,
And then another thing we need to remember is that what St. Patrick's Center is going to do with their run and the festival-y kind of things they do.
yeah. I think it could all work together pretty well.
I think so. My guys will be disappointed because they love to ride in that parade. They complain about the lack of spectators in the middle of the parade, but they still love it.
Okay,
And I think we may find some pushback from groups, for instance, who could no longer march but are riding, like the guys from my post, but they won't necessarily come and hang out at a festival. I think we're looking at a younger crowd.
maybe we can figure out some way to work them into the ceremony to honor some of these traditional older St. Louis organizations, veterans organizations. Somehow we could work them in to some aspect of it. Maybe not in a parade, but in a different way to recognize them.
Yeah, let's get the planning work going right away.
Yeah. Okay, Mark, we can do this.
Yeah, I think, so as I think about members, do we have recommendations? Rich, can Travis be involved with that in some way? Maybe as an advisor or?
Absolutely, Mark. Just
Okay.
Send me a note and I will direct him to participate with you guys as much as you need him.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Mark and I, how about we get together, we can talk, and then we'll make sure that all you folks know about what we're planning and when the meeting's going to be. And if anybody from the commission is interested in participating, that would be great on this Veterans Day observance committee that we're going to start meeting again.
Linnea, I'm interested.
Perfect. That's what I was hoping you'd say.
And I think I am too.
I was hoping you'd say that too, and I didn't want to come right out and ask you in the middle of this meeting with everyone here, but that'd be wonderful.
How about someone from the new the new group at the Missouri Historical Society?
Yeah, we should do,
Yeah,
Judith, that's a good idea.
And I think, Judith brought up a good point. Those cars and motorcycles
that's true.
are kind of cool. So
We are.
if there's something we can use that in the day. I don't know.
I love them too, so. see,
I don't know, like Corvette races.
I know. Well, that would be, I know, that, I've thought that too. And it's really.
Yeah,
good
our Corvette guys that the MAC uses in the parade that I arrange for, those guys are just avid about wanting to be in the parade, and almost every single one of them is a veteran. And they ask me, are we doing it this year? I don't have to call them.
Wow, that's good to hear too.
So they're very interested. So maybe we need some sort of small circle parade around a few blocks around Soldiers Memorial
Yeah.
to get all the really interested people involved. But that's something that could come up in the committee.
Yes, yeah.
I don't think, speaking probably for myself for sure, and maybe there's no sense that we want to diminish anybody's participation. The whole thought, I think, is to make it better and more meaningful and to get more people involved. And so definitely anything to keep those sorts of people involved and happy, I guess, is really important. for
Well,
my-
let's, if we can just get on it right away, because
Sure,
if we're going to end up wanting a speaker, we're
Right.
starting our work at the MAC and inviting, we're almost ready to invite a speaker.
sure.
So, and we need to know whether we would include the invitation for some VIP that we get to be the speaker at the parade as we have done in the past.
Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions or new business or announcements to make? Anybody? No, seeing no questions, new business or announcements. I'd like to call for an adjournment of the Soldiers Memorial Commission meeting for May 20th, 2021. I have a second?
Second,
Second? All those in favor?
aye.
Right, okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, I adjourn the May 20th, 2021 Soldiers Memorial Commission meeting at 3:44 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming.
Thank you. Good to
Thank
see
you.
everybody.
Good to see
Great.
everyone.
Have a good-
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet everyone.
I don't need to. There you go.